All right, so it says here, if possible, find A times B and B times A. So two questions in this using this one, um, or the two matrices here. So we may have two different solutions. One may be undefined, one may not be undefined. So since we're multiplying, we want to make sure our dimensions are the same. So whenever we know that matrix A, it has the dimensions of what's that, 2 by 2, and then matrix B, the dimensions are 2 by 2. So these are the same. So our solution is going to be in the form of a 2 by 2 matrix. All right, so how are we going to multiply these together? So it's not just about multiplying position by position. What we're going to look at, our goal, we want to find each element as we multiply, each element of the matrix as we multiply this out. So what we will have to do, and I'll keep repeating this as we go along, but to obtain the first element, so our goal, we know it's going to be a 2 by 2. We'll start off with that right there. Our goal is to find row 1, column 1. So to do that, to obtain the element in the first row, first column of the product matrix, we're going to multiply. So I'm going to cover this up for a second. So you can see what our focus will be on. Okay, so we're looking for the first row, the first column. So this is our focus. These are the numbers. And we want to find this first row, first column. Okay, so we're going to multiply the first element in the first row of A and the first element in the first column of B. So we're going to multiply 1 and negative 2. So 1 times negative 2. And then it says we're going to multiply the second element in the first row to the second element in the first column, and then add those together. Here again, you're saying 1 times negative 2 plus, then negative 1 times 1. This is how we find the first row, first column. Okay, so we're going to add those together, and we'll come back to that with solving all of that. Okay, now let's find we're going to look for the first row, second column. Okay, so what I'm going to do is cover up in B that part, because our focus is on the first row and then it's the second column. So here again, we're going to multiply the first element in the first row of A to the first element in the second row of B. So you're saying here 1 times 3, its product, plus, and then we're saying here we're going to multiply the second element in the first row, okay, to the second element in the second column. So that's going to be negative 1 times 2. And we'll get a solution for that. Now, our next focus is, that's why it's so important that you know how to read and identify and say which row and which column we're focusing on and how to identify each. So now our focus will be on the second row. So I'm going to cover up the first row, but we're going to be looking at the first column. So we're going to look at the first element in the second row and then multiply it to the first element of the first column of B. So you're saying here 2 times negative 2 plus, and then we're going to multiply 0 and 1. The second element in the second row times that 2, the second element of the first column. Now we want to find the product of row 2 and column 2. So I'm going to cover up column 1. Here we go. Corresponding. Here we go. Not corresponding, but excuse me. 2 times 3 plus 0 times 2. So we're taking the first element in the second row, timesing that to the first element of the second column. Add that to the first element, excuse me, the second element in the second row, times that to the second element of the second column. Now let's go ahead and simplify each one. Here we have first row, first column, 1 times negative 2, that's negative 2, plus negative 1 times 1, that's negative 1. We add those together, that would give us negative 3. First row, second column, 1 times 3 is 3. Then plus negative 1 times 2, that is negative 2. Add those together, that would give us positive 1. Row 2, first column. 2 times negative 2, that's negative 4, plus 0 times 1, that is 0. We have negative 4. And then last, row 2, column 2. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 0 times 2, that's 0. We have 6. So that is our solution. So this is multiplying A times B, okay? As you do more, you can do this quickly, but to initially show you, it's a little bit of work, okay? Next, it says we're going to multiply, this time taking the same dimensions, but we're going to reverse this. We're going to be multiplying B times A. So here again, the dimensions are for B 2 by 2, and then for A is 2 by 2. These are equal, therefore our dimensions at the end will be a 2 by 2. So let's go ahead and write this out here. Here is B, negative 2, 3, 1, and 2. Here is A, 1, negative 1, 2, 0. So we're going to multiply those together. So our focus is going to be on the first row, column 1. So I'm going to cover this up here. Okay. So we're saying negative 2 times 1 plus 3 times 2. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and we'll solve that in a few minutes, okay, or seconds. Uh, so that's first row, column 1. Let's look at first row, column 2. We're saying -2 times -1 plus 3 times 0. So we're finished with row 1. Now let's look at row 2, column 1. We're saying 1 times 1 plus 2 times 2. And then row 2, column 2, let's look at, we have 1 times -1 plus 2 times 0. And let's go ahead and simplify those. Here we have row 1, column 1, -2 times 1, that's -2, plus 3 times 2, that is 6. That would give us 4. Row 1, column 2, -2 times -1, that is 2, plus 3 times 0, that is 0. That would give us 2. Row 2, column 1, 1 times 1 is 1, plus 2 times 2 is 4. Add those together, we have 5. Row 2, column 2, 1 times -1, that's -1, plus 0, that gives us -1. There we go.